Well, I want to talk to you about how do you make a comeback from failure? How do you make a comeback after making such a big doofus type mistake? What are the steps to doing that? Well, I want to present for you kind of these four R's. And this conversation that I want to have with you today did not originate with me. In fact, I had a conversation with one of my previous guests, Andy Zitzman, and Andy had just a great process of making a comeback because he's a guy who'd been through horrible failure, and so he talked about how to make a comeback. And he went through this process, and then as he made his points, I alliterated it for him. And when it was all said and done, it was his ideas, my alliteration. Now I've gone back and I have changed it up a little bit. I've added an extra R to the process because I feel like that was the one thing that was kind of missing from the whole mix. And so I added an extra R in there. So when we talked, we had three R's and then another acronym. And in this time what I did is I came up with four R's, and then we made our movement from there. So the key to making a comeback is that, if you want to kind of figure out what is the key that's going to unlock that lock for yourself, then the first thing you've got to do is the first R is you got to remember. Now the thing about remembering is that it's just kind of going back and thinking through, what did I do wrong? Now, this isn't a time to beat yourself up. That is not the heart of doing this process. You're not trying to go back and say, God, you're such an idiot because you did this. You're such an idiot because you stepped on that piece of wood and it went out from underneath you. It's not trying to do that type of a thing. It's more trying to remember what were the steps that got me to where I am. And then also maybe even remembering what were the dreams I used to have. You see, when you take this step of just remembering and then writing it down. I tell you, this is one of those steps that all by itself can start to help you feel better. Now, that doesn't mean that everything's going to change overnight with this one little step, remember, therefore is all good. No. See, I don't care where you are in this world. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you are financially, where you are politically, spiritually, socially. The reality is, no matter what you are or who you are or what you've done, failure is in the lives of all of us. This is not a great shame to have had failure in our past. In fact, John Wooden said that failure is not fatal, but failure to change might be. You see, the thing is that we want to remember why we are where we are and how we got here so that we can have change. See, this should be an issue of hope for us, not an issue of where we're feeling, beat up, lost, without hope. No, this is actually a very positive process that we're supposed to do, is that we want to remember. Now, the next thing we want to do is that not only do we want to remember, but we want to realize. And this is a big deal, is realize that things will not get better if we don't make some changes. You see, the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting different results. Good night. I can't tell you how many times I've kind of been in this rut and I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and then realize, wait a minute, I'm just keep doing the same thing again. Of course I'm going to be stuck in this rut. When my tire gets stuck in the rut and I'm pressing that gas and that thing just keeps turning and turning and turning and I'm not going to get any traction. Something different has to happen. I got to get out there and put some gravel in that spot, or I got to put some wood under there that I can kind of drive up onto. But just keep on spinning your wheels. It's not going to get you anywhere. So it's super, super important that you realize that things have to change if there's going to be any difference. So that's the first thing we got to do is after we remember, the first thing to do next is to realize. But we don't want to finish out there. We want to move on and resolve. Now, this resolving in our hearts of basically saying that I don't care what comes my way, I am going to change. You see, a lot of times when we have had failure in our lives, or we have a situation like that we're not really happy with, unless we make the decision to change no matter what, good night. It's not going to change. We've got to look into our past and look at those old behaviors and kind of stand. Do you remember in Lord of the Rings where, especially in the movie, it was so dramatic in the movie, but I remember in the book too, but in the movie it's so dramatic where Gandalf is standing on this bridge, this stone bridge, and the Balrog is coming his way, and it's this huge demon from beneath, from the depths of the mountain, and it is coming after his group of people, and he'd already told them saying run, and so everybody else books it out of there, and everybody gets across the bridge except for Gandalf. He stops in the middle, and he raises his staff, and he slams it down on the middle of the bridge, and he says, "You shall not pass." The drama was so intense, and the Balrog is like breathing the fires of the mountain on him, and he's going, "You shall not pass," and this is his attitude, and that has to be our attitude, just a determined resolution that life is going to be different, that I'm not going to stay where I'm going to stay. That firm resolution. The next thing you want to do is you want to commit to a reboot. Now, a reboot is basically just saying that I'm going to start fresh. That's one of the things that I love about the cycle of a day. In the morning, the sun comes up, and it's almost as if the entire planet is saying, good, a fresh start. I love fresh starts. And the beautiful thing about a fresh start is that you can start from today and start to make a new change. I don't know if you know who J.K. Rowling is, but if you don't, that's because you've never heard of Harry Potter. Or maybe you've heard of Harry Potter, but you've never realized that was who the author is. J.K. Rowling is, from what I understand, the first author to ever become, check this out, a billionaire. Isn't that crazy? To become a billionaire? And when she first started writing the Harry Potter series, is that the thing is that the lady was on welfare. She was not doing well financially. Life had not treated her very well, and she was not set. So she was on a form of welfare, and so that's where she started. And here's what she said. She said, "Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life." Isn't that powerful? Isn't that stunning to think that through? When we hit rock bottom, most people, when they get there, it's a devastation. And the feeling is, life will never get better. But the beautiful thing about what J.K. Rowling said is that it becomes the place that we can be able to really start to turn things around. So you want to be committed to reboot. And when you reboot, the thing is about rebooting is that it gives you the idea that you are able to reboot. You see, you've remembered where you were and what your dreams were. You've realized that it's not going to get better unless you make a change. You've resolved you're going to make a change. And now you are rebooting. You're starting fresh from today. And when you've done that, then you know that you are able to make the changes. See, you can do it. This is not something that is outside of your grasp. This is something that you can do. One of the tenets of Doubt the Doubts is to be able to encourage you to say, I can do it. That's my goal for you, is to encourage you to be able to say, I can do it. And believe me, you can do it. Now let me talk about this word able. It's an acronym. It's an acronym to be able to get you to move from A to B. And so let me bring you to the first one. So A is, if you're able to do it, first thing you can do is you've got to ask for help. There is nothing immoral, illegal, or fattening about yelling up to your partner and saying, hey, can you give me a hand up? And if we were mountain climbing, we would think nothing of asking someone to help us out of a hard spot. And that's kind of what this life is like, man. There are times when we get in hard spots, and the pit's too deep for your arms to reach up and grab the rim, but it may not be too deep for someone to lay on their belly and reach down to you, or to throw a rope down. I don't think we were ever designed to really be alone in this life. I think we were designed to really need the help of others. You talk to the major successful entrepreneurs in this world, and you ask them, who was it that helped you to be able to get to where you are? And what you're going to find is they are going to immediately start chiming off and say, it was so-and-so, it was so-and-so, it was her, it was him. They're going to have a list of people immediately that'll come to their forefront and make you think of who it was that helped you along. I know that when I was starting with Doubt the Doubts, man, there was no way I could have launched this on my own. So I reached out and I asked for help. I had some amazing people come to my rescue. People like John Lee Dumas stepped in at a key time in my life and gave me some incredible support throughout the entirety of the process of going through starting Doubt the Doubts. And even when I was going through my cancer treatments, which is, I've got an exam starting up again next Friday. I believe today is the 10th, and I think it's the 17th is when my next exam is, and then I start up treatment again. But anyhow, that process, it's something I could not survive. I could not have survived without the help of other people during this last year. And it's not a bad thing to just ask for help. The thing is, most people are totally wanting to help, and so ask for help. That is a critical thing. The next thing is to be grateful. And this is an attitude thing. This is something where you want to think through in your own heart and your mind. It's having just an attitude of gratitude, of where you just kind of say, thank you for where I am. Thank you for people that'll help me. Thank you that you could even be thankful for the beginning of a new day. Use every day as a reminder, that sun coming up. Thank you that this helps me to remember I've got a new start. Being grateful for the fact that you've got clean underwear. That may not be the case for all of you. Maybe perhaps you just have the pants to go, or the skirt, whatever it is. But just being grateful for that stuff. When you make it a habit to write down on a daily basis, maybe just 5 things that you're grateful for, studies show that people who do that have a better outlook on life. They recover more quickly from illness. They have a better recovery time from failure. I mean, the benefits just go on and on. And so this attitude of gratitude, of just being grateful all the time. And if you take and you play this out just in your everyday life towards other people also, people you don't know, man, tell the checkout person at the grocery store, hey, thanks for helping me today. I know it's a simple little goofy thing, but that little attitude of gratitude towards that person can totally mean a lot. Hey, you getting pulled over by a cop? Maybe just a little simple, hey, thanks for helping to keep our roads safe and keeping me in check. That's a hard one. Let's skip that one. But let's just say that we want to have an attitude of gratitude, where we're just be grateful. Be grateful for your life, for the people that are in it. And even sometimes for the circumstances. Yeah, maybe the circumstances are really tough. But maybe one of the things you could be thankful for in the circumstances, maybe be thankful that you are learning something through this process. But be grateful. That would be the next thing to do, is to be grateful and while you're able. Not only be grateful, but also evaluate your dreams now. Now we've talked about remembering where you were. How about starting to look ahead and saying, what are the dreams that I want to have? And it's okay to dream again. One of the things about failure or hard times is that it can kind of be the salt in the soil. That if you put too much salt in there of the salts of failure into your soil, it will start to kill off the plants that are living there until you can kind of purge the salt from the soil. So failure can be like that. But if you start to just kind of start to think this stuff through and start to evaluate, here's a couple things for your dreams. Dream about who you want to be. Not necessarily what. I'm not talking about the job. I'm talking about the who, the character, the person. Do you want to be a person that people, when they think of you, that they think, oh, there's a helpful person. She sure is a neat person. I can tell her anything, and I know that it's trusted. What kind of person do you want to be? Dream about that. Dream about then the circumstances. What kind of circumstances do you want to have? I'm kind of in that process now of kind of rebooting myself. I went through a long career of being an electrical contractor, a lighting designer, and home theater systems, doing all those really Gucci things in houses. And I had a new dream that I wanted to go down, partly because I needed something that my body did not need to be there for, as if it wasn't feeling good that day. So I started to dream about this new path I wanted to go down. And as you dream these things, just dream outside of the box. It's all good, but evaluate your dreams, but understand where you want to go. Once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is you want to launch your dream. So you've determined what it is, who you want to be, what you want to do, and then you want to launch that dream. Launching the dream, I'm telling you what, it is basically starting to set those goals in place. Getting a couple of goals that you would say, okay, here's my short-term goals. Short terms are like today through the end of the week. Those are short-term goals. You might even want to say that a short-term goal could be today through the end of the month. If you want to go out a month and call that short-term, that's fine. But start to do that. Set those little short-term goals. But let me first say, how do you set those short-term goals? You want to first be looking at what your dream is. So you know what you want to be. And now work yourself backwards though. So your next one would be that, okay, if I want to be a podcaster, I've got to come up with a show. I've got to come up with an idea. I've got to come up with a way to market it. I've got to come up with a way to spread the word. All these things that would go into that particular thing. Perhaps your dream is to start a business, an online business. What does that look like? And then start putting your dream. You want to look at each goal that you set as an arrow that's pointing towards something. So start to get those dreams in place and move towards that dream. Now, when you do this and you keep at it, just know that you're being able. You're asking for help, you're being grateful, you're evaluating your dreams, and then you're launching your dreams. If you can do that, you are going to be well on your way to finding the key to making a comeback. It's doable, folks. You can do it. You can make the comeback. This is not something you have to wait for someone else to do. It's time for you to make the comeback.